I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to the Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today, we're very pleased to be talking with Pat Mitchell-Worley, CEO of the Soulsville Foundation. So stay with us for a conversation with Pat, and a special thanks to our sponsor, Youth Villages. Pat, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You got a lot going on, as always. I've known you, like work-wise and all that, and I've never known you not to have a lot going on. You just, in all your various roles and things you've done.
You're given so many days here, you never know when it's going to end, so you've got to take advantage of it.
And it's always good and interesting stuff. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things about Stax and the school and the museum and all the various parts of and things going on. But as we record this, you're about to announce, and you will have announced, I should say, as people are listening, the Power of Music Awards. Yes. What is that?
So the Power of Music Awards is Soulsville Foundation's opportunity to talk about the benefits of music. If we look back in the Stax story, yes, there was some great music, some amazing artists that came out of Stax Records. But the thing that's not talked about as much is the benefits, the results of Stax Records, whether it be the women and minorities as business owners, it is the entrepreneurship, it's the youth development that took place. All of these things, including the civic engagement, it all happened as a result of Stax Records. And so we believe that through music, there's so many things that happen that we don't talk about as much, that individuals don't think about how important it is. We believe that music is more than just entertainment, that it has impact on community and it has impact on the world. So the Power of Music Awards were created to recognize the people, the organizations that are impacting the world, but music is their foundation. Yeah. And we're excited that our first recipient this year is Chuck D of Public Enemy. We're recognizing him for his work as a music historian. Public Enemy did a great job of turning a lot of young people onto the R&B sound. They sampled more Stax songs than a lot of artists. But then his work in seeing himself as not just an artist, but as a person that was taking messages to people, and his role as an activist. And that is, as we see it, Chuck D's greatest impact on the world. It's great music, yes, that defined a generation, but also it's that activist and historian piece that impacted beyond the music.
And so will this move towards, how will he be on? Are you moving towards an event or talk about all the kind of logistics, because this is new. So
this is brand new. And this year we're starting it, with this reception. We were fortunate enough to have some longtime donors who were interested in the idea. They thought it was a really good idea, and they got behind the seed, money to make it happen. Henry Turley, Kevin McInerney were just big supporters, and they saw the vision of this thing and how it brings attention on Memphis. So every year, this will move forward. So next year we'll have the Power of Music Honors, and it will take place on the Thursday before River Beat Music Festival. And so the entertainment for the award show will be collaborations between artists, because collaboration is an important piece that music also teaches us.
And you answered my question in part, but Chuck T, a connection to Stax music and Stax Records, but not an artist on Stax Records. And is that where you guys are thinking that there needs to be a connection, or no? There may not be.
There does not need to be a connection. I've had people ask me, what is the perfect person that you would see receiving this award? And I said, it's the guy that I read about in the Ukraine who is teaching music lessons to young people to help them get over and have something to do beyond the trauma of war. And it's just as easily, an artist. It is not limited to, it's more about how are they impacting the world around them. And it doesn't stop with creating music. It's about all the things that come with it. So the awards itself, the award is called the Reverb Award. Chuck D's award is an original one-of-a-kind award this year. And then moving forward, we have, we'll be announcing this summer a partnership with Urban Art Commission to have a Memphis artist create this award. It's called the Reverb Award. It's It was named by Robert Gordon, music author, historian,
friend of the show. Yeah.
And he was, we were in a conversation and I said, Robert, I've got to have a name for the award. It needs an award. And he said, well, what does it do? And I said, well, really, we're talking about the echo of their work and how it's felt by people close to them and people who can be miles away. And he said, well, of course you're going to call it the Reverb Award. I mean, immediately.
It's very Robert.
He didn't.
Not that I know Robert that well, but that's just very Robert.
And I'm like, I own that. And he goes, yes. And so it really speaks to the reverberation of our, not just of sound, but of our actions.
Yeah. And I love, not that you need my approval, but I do love that it's not in some way just, it'd be fine if you were doing an award just of Stax musician or Stax, but that it's, as you said at the top, it all kind of comes together for me is you're linking it to some of the values and some of the history and the mission and all that of Stax, which, well, I want to pivot to the movie in a minute, but what else? So you'll have had the award ceremony as it went at the time this goes. It will have been great and much fun will have been had. Is there kind of an ongoing thing through the year, or do you just see it as this kind of marker in the year? I mean,
well, we will once we get out of this piece and we move towards the award itself and creating the award and being able to lift up that Memphis artist that is chosen. Our big piece next is the education piece that goes into it. The Soulsville Foundation is an education organization. It just so happens the thing that we educate a lot about is music and what music has been able to do, how to play music, how to understand music, and allowing music to be utilized to teach things such as life skills to kids. That's what we do every day. And so we want to make sure that our education piece that's connected with this allows our students to actively be engaged and to also create what they think young people, how young people like to receive information. Oftentimes as adults get together and we decide what the young people need. And as a music fan and music DJ, I know all about deciding the playlist for someone because they need to hear this song.
Yeah.
But, to ask your audience, what's appealing to you?
Right.
And it's one of the things that I think we do well at Stax Music Academy is listening to the young people and letting them tell us, well, okay, we got that. We learned that. But what about this thing that we're hearing on the radio today? Break that down for us, to be able to do that or to explain how engineering works and everything. Those pieces to get the youth voice in it and to get them actively engaged. It changes how they show up, and it also changes how they participate.
For people not as familiar with Stax and the entities and the kind of many arms and tentacles, go through them real quick or not. There's a museum. I'll do my bad.
Yes, let's see what you come up with.
Let's see what I come with. There's a museum that people have been to, I hope. There is also a charter school. There is the Stax Music Academy that I, for a long time, thought was a part of the charter school, but I think you or someone many years ago now corrected me on that. And what else?
So those are our three programs. The museum and the music academy are, sort of stand together. And the charter school is actually its own 501c3. The music academy, about 35 to 40%, closer to 35, come from the charter school. Because if you're going to do an after school program, wouldn't it be great to just walk across a little bridge? But the rest of the students that are in Stax Music Academy come from around the city. Some are homeschooled. Some are racing across the city to get to their rehearsals after school is over. And it is a great mix of students, and they're not all coming from the same neighborhoods. It's also interesting because to get a great music education, a great arts education in general, that is really expensive. And, it costs us about $13,000 a student to do the music academy.
Just the music academy. That's, again, separate from the charter school.
Yes.
13,000. I would not have thought that. Now, when you say it, it starts to add up in my brain, but wow.
And then there are a lot of things that we add on to that music education. Our goal is not just that we have students that are excellent at music, but the other piece of it is we want them to be well-rounded, contributing individuals.
Yeah.
And it's more important that they're great people, at the end of the day. So we nurture that. But our students have life skills as a part of the program. We do career counseling with students. All of our students are accepted into college, but our goal is to help them get scholarships to pay for it. So I think that last year, around 82% of our students got scholarships that were academic or music that we helped them get. That's an important piece of the work that we do. Then the part of getting those scholarships is their knowledge of music. And it is not just the rehearsals and ensembles that they're in. We do oral theory. We do ear training. Their music theory happens, and students, I jokingly say students get excited. They really don't get excited. It's like, if you're not good at math, sometimes going to math class is not exciting. But the goal is by the time they leave, they are good at music theory.
Yeah.
Most of our students, when they get these scholarships, they test out of their first year of music theory.
Yeah.
We do juries, which is a college level initiative that is something once you go to the music program at the University of Memphis or you go to a music school, you're going to have juries. So our students are doing that.
Juries, people judging their music, giving feedback, but judging. I mean, fundamentally.
It's like, it really, at the end of the day, it's some experts saying, okay, you did really well with this, but you need to work on this.
Yeah.
And so the goal is to show improvement. And our students get that. They get auditions. They get to practice for auditions and get used to that process. A lot of our students are participating in All West Tennessee, which is it is the music program that is for the state of Tennessee. Each state has their own music program, and you do All West in your hopes that you get a chair, and then the bigger hope is that you get the All Tennessee. And so,
well, we must beat that country music every year. I mean, how is that? How would that not be just a year after year beating of the country music?
Well, music is a really interesting thing though, because you can go. We have some students that prefer.
I love that you didn't take the bait on that question.
No, I didn't.
You were so good at what you do.
Is great. I'm just like, I'm not saying
That just looked at me and was like, no, I'm moving on.
And I have appreciation for country music, and their storytelling is just awesome. Some of our students go the more traditional road, and they're jazz musicians. Some of them they want to be popular music. That's their thing. And it's interesting because, as I used to always say, your popular music offers a lot more forgiveness sometimes, but our staff really wants to make sure that they know the fundamentals, that even if they pursue popular music, they still know chord progressions and they still know how to play an instrument. So they're encouraged to play an instrument even if they're learning how to be a sound engineer.
Yeah.
And that's an important piece to really understand how music works, why it works, what sounds go together. You got to know the rules before you can break them.
Yeah.
At least do a good job of breaking them.
Yeah. We're here with Pat Mitchell-Worley, CEO of the Soulsville Foundation, and we'll come back and we'll talk about a bunch more going on in all the various programs, talk about the relationship, the new relationship with Live Nation here in Memphis. But let me first remind everyone, this is the Sidebar, and I'm Eric Barnes. The Sidebar airs on WYXR 91.7, where Pat and I both are board members. I should probably disclose that. Every Thursday at 11:30 on WYXR is the Sidebar. It's focused on the community, arts, culture, everything in between. It's not just a radio show, though. It's one of a number of weekly podcasts we do at the Daily Memphian, including the Memphis Grizzlies podcast, our food podcast Sound Bites, which also airs here on WYXR every Thursday 11, and coming soon, a morning podcast daily. We also host the podcast version of Behind the Headlines, the TV show we produce with the folks at WKNO every week. All of our podcasts are on the Daily Memphian site, as well as iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get the WYXR shows from the Daily Memphian and really all the WYXR shows, music and talk, at WYXR.org or on the WYXR app. It includes the talk shows, music shows, and archives of all those shows. So it's a great way to keep up with what's going on at WYXR. Also, WYXR, it's nonprofit, listener-supported radio, so consider becoming a member. You get all kinds of great member benefits. If you go to the site, you can learn about that, or you can do a one-off donation. The donations, the memberships, the sponsorships, all that's what keeps WYXR thriving. Also, the Daily Memphian is a 501c3, a nonprofit also. And if you're not a paid subscriber, consider becoming one. That's the biggest source of revenue and support for the Daily Memphian, the largest newsroom in the region. But we also have advertisers and donations. You can learn all about that at Daily Memphian. Coming up soon, in coming weeks on the Sidebar, Shemichael Hallman's going to be on. Recently, we had Marina Caracedo. Jeff Kolath was on. You know Jeff. You've met Jeff once or twice, right? Once or twice, yes. He was executive director of the museum for 8-9 years. He was at the museum for 8.
Yeah, he had almost a decade logged in.
Yeah. And he is now, though, at the Sultana Disaster Museum. He's been there since, I think, last August. We had a great conversation about him with the museum, the history of the Sultana. I learned a whole lot of things I didn't know or had lost track of. And last but not least, recently did our big super duper, it was our crossover event with Carrie Hayes' Clap 3 Times podcast. Yes. That was super duper. It was super duper. But it was fun. And he interviewed me and we talked about music and talked about some songs. So that we also posted to the Sidebar feed last week. Behind the Headlines, coming up this week, we've got a roundtable of journalists. Next week, we'll have MIFA and some other folks related, working in the senior space, aging space, and the impact of federal cuts locally. That will be on Behind the Headlines soon. And in recent weeks, we've had Jenny Robbins, the relatively new CEO of Church Health Center. We had Bill Gibbons, we had Josh Spickler, and we had DA Steve Mulroy. So all those you can get as podcasts or as video on the Daily Memphian or wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. But we are here with Pat Mitchell-Worley from Soulsville Foundation and All Things Stax. I mentioned the movie. The movie was amazing. It is amazing. It's still on HBO. People can get it if they're streaming. It's 4 parts. Is that what it was?
4 parts.
I thought, I can't say that I was would have claimed to have been versed in the history of Stax. And watching it was amazing. I learned so much. It was so well done. It was so much fun to see people like Howard Robertson that I know and Deanie Parker who I know and other folks. What was the experience like for you? Right?
Well, I think that my experience with seeing it is completely, it's unfair, in fact, because I snuck into the screening that was done for our Stax artists. So
you snuck in?
Yeah,
you weren't invited?
They half-heartedly invited. No. We did at the Stax Museum, and it was in the middle of the day. So allegedly, I'm working. Yeah, So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to go over here.
I think you get a pass for this.
Our Concord representative, Michelle Smith, who's amazing, and she's one of the producers on the documentary, and she was just like, oh, come on in. And she did invite me. So she'll say, I can't believe you said, I did invite you. But to watch it in the same room with David Porter, Deanie Parker, Howard Robertson, I am a music fan first and foremost. And I've had moments in my life where I recognized that I was amongst greatness, people that I listened to their work. And I still can't say that it even begins to describe my reaction to their reaction. And the moment that it was so visceral and so real to me, I was sitting next to James Alexander, and he's on the screen talking about the plane crash and explaining that he had to go identify his best friend's body.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I recognized that to me, it was a story that I'd heard, but to him, he lived it. And it was so like, to recognize that you know nothing because you can't feel what they were feeling as they watched their stories being told was humbling. And at the end, the thing that I remembered was their first response was thank you.
Yeah.
It was thank you for telling the story from their viewpoint. You know, Al Bell was there. It was really a moment that I won't forget.
Yeah.
Nor do I ever take for granted in why I'm there every day. And it's the continuation of that legacy.
Yeah.
And it is representing all of those people, not just from the standpoint of the music that they sent out around the world, but as people who were just trying to contribute, trying to make a difference, trying to give back to their community. And all of those things just, you know, it's solidified in watching the documentary.
Well, and it all circles back to what we were talking about at the top, the Power of Music Awards and Chuck D, and that it's not just about the music. It's very much about the music. It's grounded in the music. But that story articulated and just showed it to me, a person who is kind of a lay person when it comes to Stax, right? I mean, it was like, oh, there was something very profound going on, something way more culturally deep and more than the music. And again, I knew parts and pieces of that, but it just articulates it and shows it, both being able to interview all these amazing people now and then to get all that archive footage. It was just, it also does circle back and make sense, even more sense with the Power Music Award. With the museum or any of the programs you do, will you integrate the movie into things more or less? I mean, I don't know how that works. Is it?
Yes, right now we just promote the
Sure.
documentary to get more people to watch it, to understand that the space that they're stepping in, that this is the space where it happened. I think that as we move further away from that release date and the, HBO promotion, the next phase of it is us being able to utilize it for education purposes in smaller bits. I'm excited about it because it gave us something contemporary to tell people to go watch and to get a piece. But there were so many things, they couldn't focus on the whole piece. They couldn't take time out to talk about the women who were writing these amazing songs, and they couldn't, we didn't see artists like Johnny Taylor, in that story. There are so many other facets of the Stax record story that it would have gone on for days. It would have been like this marathon. But that was the core story, and it was important that people understood it. Yeah.
With a few minutes left here, I mentioned Live Nation and the new venue going in. We're actually sitting in Crosstown here, but down the hall, down the way, across the street, there's a new venue going in, a Live Nation venue, and Stax is involved.
Yes. We're excited to be involved. So we started a production program. Our SMA executive director, Isaac Daniel, back when he was the production manager, started this production program. No one really understood what he was talking about because he's an engineer and he's seeing all these, all this great gear, new processes to do things. He's watching all of this happen and he's just like, these kids need to know how to do it. So he started building this production program before I was at SMA back in 2017. He was recruiting students every year. Fast forward to 2025. That is a full program. This school year, we launched a production certificate where teenagers can get accreditations from Adobe Creative Suite, from all of the engineering pieces like the software like Pro Tools, Dante. Dante is not just for music. I mean, St. Jude uses Dante. It is something that a lot of really large organizations have someone who can utilize this platform to send messaging, make announcements, and all of that across large spaces and complexes. And so it was Isaac's idea to build this thing. And so now this thing has become, oh my goodness, a certificate that is recognized by people in the industry. Live Nation, that partnership came about just mutual friends and supporters, and our relationship with Crosstown Arts and with the Poplar Foundation really, pushed us forward and said, hey, look at this program. And so Live Nation has come on as a mechanical partner. They are providing, not only once the venue is built, they will be providing shadowing for our students. There's an apprenticeship program. So our students, if you think about Live Nation is not just in Memphis. So our students that go to school, I'll use Louisiana because Loyola has a great music program. We have a number of students that are there, and Live Nation is very strong in New Orleans. And our students can actually get jobs while they're in college that works toward their craft and not just going to find a job just to make money. And so that is really a game changer for us.
And the venue opens again, next year?
Spring of next year,
Spring of next year. And about how many kids, I say kids, young people be going through?
This year, the program has 30 students in it. Their goal next year is 60. They want to double it. I think it's really exciting because production jobs move the entertainment industry. They move the arts industry. There is a guy who is running lights and sound at Playhouse on the Square. There is someone that's their job at the FedEx Forum. There's so many careers that are available under this arts and entertainment production umbrella, and we're training kids to do those jobs. So I want to, this goes back, I'm going to do your wrap up for you.
Yeah.
This goes back to that whole power of music conversation that I truly believe, our staff truly believes that arts, that music, the form that we put out into the world, that we talk about the most, that it is not this thing that can be sidelined or placed in the corner. It is an essential part of everything that we do. The arts, the music industry, it is economic development. It is workforce development. It is building up and nurturing young people. It is technology. It's also a big piece of how we get involved with community and how we come together. It is a necessity. We believe that, and we are working very hard to, in this production program, professionalize an arts education, something that is not done at the middle and high school level. We're working hard to make people know that teaching life skills to young people makes a difference in their lives and helping them in creating that roadmap to the future. All of these things are done via music. Yeah. And so it's not just about this little arts thing that exists in South Memphis at the corner of College and Macklemore. It's really about how this thing propels us forward and how we utilize all the resources that we have to make a change for the better in everything that we do.
That was wonderful. And that is wonderful. And I could talk to you all day, but we're about out of time. No, and I mean that you're laughing at me, but I really mean that. I know I've asked you this before, but I've forgotten. And I always ask people what their first concert was for you, that you...
Now, well, what is that?
Did your mom take you to concerts?
My mom took me to see Opera Memphis's Carmen. That was probably my first concert. I was a little kid.
That's her first opera ever, I think.
She thought, I was in elementary school, she thought that I wouldn't like it. And I was just like, this is so great. Oh my God, when can we come again?
That's so funny.
That was like impacts. But commercially, the real thing that I remember is not my first concert, but my first concert I went to without adult supervision.
Yeah.
I went to see Prince at the Coliseum.
Nice.
And me and two friends, and we didn't have parents with us. And I was in 8th grade, and it was like a really big deal. Purple Rain Tour, I'll never forget it.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget it.
That is amazing. Pat Mitchell-Worley, CEO of Soulsville Foundation, thanks so much for being here. That is all the time we have this week. We'll see you again next week.